Hey, true believers, Chris Mack coming at you with Wolverine 86. And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. I love how Larry Hama was never afraid to just get weird with this title. And same thing with Dark Claw. He'd just be like, okay, you know what? We're going to do this. And you kind of read it, and you're like, oh, okay. But it turns out to be a good read. Definitely better than a lot of what we're reading in modern comics. Speaking of like the old school, one thing that I miss about these early Wolverine issues is I miss this trade dressing. You know, you'd see Wolverine up here with his stogie, which I miss these, I forget what they're called. If you guys can remember, let me know down in the comments. But, you know, I loved how he always did this Wolverine. It always helped enhance the book, and it always caught my eye when it was on the rack. So with that said, beautiful cover, and we'll jump right into it. And we actually get some really fun characters that we follow. We follow, what are their names? Albert and, what's her name? Is it Elsie? Elsie-Dee, that's right. And then, get an Elsie-Dee, ha ha ha. And then Bloodscream, who I think is a really cool character because he's essentially a vampire. In this story, they're all trying to hunt down Wolverine. Now, one thing about this issue that kind of threw me is I was a little weird out because this is supposed to follow Cable number 16 during the Phalanx review event. Not enough coffee. But anyway, I guess there's supposed to be like some sort of post-apocalyptic world. And then this is supposed to also wrap up Wolverine number 52, which I do not have, which I'm hoping to read. Because after this issue, it jumps into that iconic cover of Wolverine and Gambit being in Madripoor, which is gorgeous. But to a degree, I kind of wish they would have followed this line of storytelling. So Elsie's like, oh, this whole future is destroyed, this is Muir Island that they're on. And then Elsie here, which you have to really stop and kind of think, like when you're reading like Bizarro, Elsie's kind of the same way. She goes, like we thought he was hidden back in the past. He goes, thy untold tale of temporal displacement. Couldst thou regale me at long last, sweet android? Well, we found a skeleton in an Indian burial ground that had adamantium quads. But yeah, see Cable 16. And then this is kind of where Elsie kind of goes into her backstory of how they were tracking Logan. And if the page would turn, which of course it's not going to, and we get one of those old school, gorgeous 90 splash pages. So they end up back in the 18th century, I think, and they see two warring tribes going at one another. And it's just very dynamic. I mean, look at that Dutch angle. And because, you know, they weren't allowed to show a whole lot of blood during this time period, of course you can see tomahawks flying, but no blood whatsoever. But still, gorgeous, dynamic, and it sucks you in. Speaking of which, let's talk about who made this. This is an adventure of past, present, and future, brought to you by Larry Hama, Scribe, Ron Garney, Illuminator, Alve and Bud LaRosa, Maitre D's Uncur. I'm not very good with French, so if I slaughter that, feel free to make fun of me. Pat Briscoe is the Scrivener. Steve Bucoletto is Applicator of Hues. Bob Harris is the Fault Finder Emeritus. And Tom DeFalco is the Big Cheese. I wish creative teams were still like this, where they kind of bring people in and kind of make you laugh. But such as those days are gone. Now, the print date on this was Wolverine 86, October 1994. So as Elsie says that her and Albert were trying to hunt down Wolverine, kind of tracked them back into the past. You see this warring tribe. And then this character here, he's kind of the focus of the first half of the book. His name is Mankiller Wolf, which when I read that, Mankiller Wolf, all of a sudden Al Gore jumped in my head. I was thinking, Man Bear Pig. Wait, no, this Mankiller Wolf, who is the right arm of the drummer with no sound. So we'll get into that in a moment. But just wanted to show off how gorgeous that artwork is. And this is Elsie's puppy, which I think this would, in terms of action figure collecting, this would have been a great Build-A-Figure. And of course have Elsie and Albert is part of the line. So Hasbro, if you're listening, just saying, bro. And of course, Bloodscream, which I really love him too. Now they run into Forge. They get the warring tribe to run away. He's like, well, if it isn't Elsie-Dee, last time I saw you, you were making 8-ball combinations and clearing the table. Now, this is how I can tell that I'm getting a little older and a bit around the block. Because when he said you were making 8-ball combinations, I was like, were they at Studio 54? And then I was like, oh, wait, we're actually talking about pool. Okay. And it says this happened back in Wolverine 40, which sadly I do not have either. And so we just kind of see Forge looking badass with a futuristic gun in the 18th century. And then this is where he talks about how him and Logan get sucked into the past. They're looking for an ancient mystic called the Adversary, which the Adversary, if you guys remember back to, I don't remember the issue numbers, but back when Storm first met Forge and they met Naze, and Naze had an adversary, I can't remember his name, but yeah, just kind of keep that in mind, and that's sort of what is the following of this book, is finding this demon. And I like how as Forge does that, we get this badass look for Wolverine, where he still kind of has his uniform, but also has kind of added some tribal apparel to it. And he goes, I figured if Forge had his heart set on romping and stomping through the bad north woods of the past, he'd better have the old knucklehead along to watch his butt. Just good stuff. And then this is where we go to the other side of the river, and we actually see the drummer with no sound, which is the Adversary. He's like, I failed. My warriors have deserted me. I sing my death song. Your problem, Mankiller Wolf. Besides your prosperity for pretentious blathering is your utter lack of sense of humor. It's a great joke, don't you see? A trick like life and death. And so he gets transfigured into a villain, or not a villain, but into something more, which we'll see here in a moment. Now get back across the river and bring me the dog soldier of the enemy Naze, the shaman conjurer, he who calls himself Forge. Bring him to the great falling waters, and I will unmake him. And boom, I just love the terrifying dynamicness. I mean, look at this. This does not look like the same guy that we saw back in that early splash page. So even though this one of those stories where all of a sudden we're in this post-apocalyptic future, now we're talking about the past, you're a little thrown, and it's okay because it's entertaining, but at the same time you're thinking, what the hell is going on? And oh, the artwork just sucks you in. I mean, look at that. Man, bear, pig, wolf, man, killer. I am tongue-tied. But anyway, trying to kill Forge. Wolverine's on top of him, trying to take him out. Just good stuff all around. But then, before anything else can really happen, now, all of a sudden, we're back in the present. They go to track Wolverine in the present, I guess. And then we're in the future, and you're like, wow, what? And I just, look at this. On top of the story, just look how great this artwork is. You just do not see this type of quality anymore. Remember, 92, 94, everything was still relatively done by hand with a little bit of digital assistance. So even though there's a lot of great artwork now, you know, people have tablets, blah, 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 blah. This was canvas, paints, color pens, old school methods. So this is why these still hold up to this day, and why a lot of people do more back issue hunting than modern comic hunting, because the storytelling's great, the artwork's great. And there are times where, like, you know, this isn't the world's greatest story. From what I understand in research, that all this issue was, his purpose is to wrap up stuff that Elsie and Albert found, and I think it was issue 52, where they saw the adamantium skeleton, because as I read it, they said they had to make this to wrap that up, and also to explain away how Wolverine lost his adamantium skeleton in 75, which was part of the, what was the name of that arc where Wolverine got it? Fatal Attractions. So, for what it is, it's an entertaining issue. Because like I said, after this, there's no more talk of this past, present, blood scream. We go directly into Madripoor with Gambit and Wolverine. So this book, the way it ends, it left me wanting more. Like, I like to see, because they just kind of skim over. They're like, oh yeah, we defeated the great adversary, we got shot into the future. But I wanted to see the fight. I want to see more of this future, and why Elsie-Dee is a headless robot now. Give me more. I want to see Wolverine fight Bloodscream again, because when they first introduced him a while back, I love that issue. Wolverine fighting him, and I think it was Hightower, his name, in the Canadian. I'm thinking of Akira. Canada. The Canadian North. Great issue. Beautiful artwork in that one as well. I want to see more of this. Roar. If they ever do touch on this again, let me know what issue number, and I'll try to pick it up, because I'm still kind of feeling my way through old school Wolverine stories. But yeah, this one, going in with no real knowledge other than this follows up the Phalanx event. It was good. The writing was pretty solid. Felt a little all over the place in terms of, okay, past, present, future, future, present, past. Do say that 3 times fast. Artwork, freaking phenomenal. Loved every single panel that I looked at. So yeah, guys, Wolverine 86. If you want something that's just batshit crazy in a good way, I highly recommend it. So I'd say please support your local comic shop and grab a copy. If you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you could possibly know. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that little batshit crazy bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel. And we love talking with you all and hearing your thoughts down in the comments below or on our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.